everybody. Today I'm going to be making breakfast, which is going to be homemade 2-ingredient biscuits and sausage gravy. And I'd like to explain to you how the biscuits work since it's only 2 ingredients. For the flour, you have to use self-rising flour because it has the salt and the baking powder in it. And those are leavening agents which make the biscuits rise. So you'll have to use self-rising flour, and then heavy whipping cream, because this has the fat in it that replaces the butter or lard or whatever you use for your fat. So it has, if you use those 2 ingredients, it has all the ingredients in it that you need to make a really wonderful pan of biscuits, but it's all condensed into the 2 ingredients. So let's get started with the biscuits and get them in the oven, and then we'll go on to the sausage gravy. So I like to make my biscuits on a pan because cleanup is a lot easier. So that is why that's here. Here's my bowl, and here is my flour. And this is a cup, measuring cup. And I'm going to measure today just because I think it might be more helpful for y'all. You can sift your flour if you want to. Just make sure you don't go in and scoop and call it a cup, because that is going to have your flour compacted, and what you might think is a cup would really be like a 1.25 cups. So just pick up your flour with a spoon and let it drop into your measuring cup, and then you can kind of even it off. So there's 1 cup, and here's 2 cups. And so we'll put the flour away for a minute. We'll need it again for our gravy. So you have, I'm sorry, I'm just over here rattling and all. So you have your 2 cups of flour, and you can even take your fork or a whisk and go around in your flour to try to add a little air to it, which will make your biscuits even a little more fluffy. I never do that, but you could if you wanted to. So now to this 2 cups of flour, you're going to need about 1.5 cups of heavy cream. And this measuring cup is 1.5 cups. And this measuring cup set came from Walmart, and it's Pioneer Woman, and they have odd sizes like 1.5 cups and different things. It's very useful, I think. So if you'd like something like that, you can get it at Walmart. So now I'm just going to take the fork, and I'm going to put about half of that cream in there, and take my fork and stir around and incorporate the milk into the flour. And so that's getting pretty dry, so I'll add about 1/4 of what was left, or 1/2 of what was left. And I'm going to go ahead and add the rest. And as this kind of has a moment to sit, as you're working it, it will have time to absorb that milk, because you might think that you put too much in it, but after it has a moment to absorb the milk, it becomes a really good consistency. So you don't want to beat your biscuit dough very much. It makes your biscuits become tougher. And so now let me grab my biscuit cutter. I knew I forgot something. Okay, so now I'm going to move this over for just a second, and I'm going to add a little a little flour there. And now I'm going to dump out my biscuit dough. And we're going to just kind of get it with a little of this flour on it. Get it where it's you're able to work with it real good, and cut it. This is really a good consistency. These biscuits are going to be good and moist. So you can use a rolling pin if you want. My mom always used a rolling pin, but I just have never been one to care for a rolling pin that much. I like biscuits that are a little on the tall side, and especially if you're going to open them up and put gravy on them. So this is at least 3/4 of an inch, if not an inch thick. Then we're going to just cut out our biscuits. Try not to twist, and I'll show you in a second how we're going to put them on our pan. So as thick as I make my biscuits, we're only going to get about 5 or so. You can make drop biscuits or whatever you want. Make them by hand. You don't have to use the cutter. So it looks like we're going to get about 5.5 good thick biscuits. And you can throw away this last little bit if you want, but when I was growing up, I was the baby in the family, and this was always my biscuit, and my mom would kind of roll it around and fix it and make my biscuit. So let me rinse my hands real quick. Now, what I like to do, and I have found it does make a big difference, is I like to put butter on the bottom of the baking sheet, just in the spot where I'm going to put my biscuit. We've got 5 biscuits, and I want the sides touching because it makes your biscuit softer and fluffier. And I just really like a soft biscuit. So I'm going to start off here with where I'm going to put my first 3 biscuits. And I'm putting them right on the butter. And then we're going to have 3 more, counting the little baby biscuit. And that's all there is to it. And so we've got 6 biscuits. As I say, if you roll it thinner, you'll get more biscuits, but I like a good, big, thick biscuit. And if I had used a bigger cutter, they would have been called cat head biscuits, because in the South, if you make a huge as well as tall biscuit, they're called cat head biscuits. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven at 425. And I'm going to let those go about 10 minutes. I'm going to check them, and we'll just keep checking them until they're nice golden brown. And see, I didn't have much cleanup at all. Now, I did have a little cleanup though. Now we're gonna do our sausage gravy, and I have this part is entirely up to you what you like as far as your sausage goes, your brand of sausage, how much you put in. If you just want to use the sausage grease and not the sausage itself. But I'm using Jimmy Dean. And this is about a pound. This is a 2 or 3 pound package. I'm not sure. Let me check if I can. I don't see it, but anyway, it's a big package that I got from Sam's Club. And I used half of it in spaghetti, which I love sausage in spaghetti. I think that is so good. I need to rinse my hands one more time. And I need to get a spoon. Well, I'm gonna use this. I really like these wooden utensils. So anyway, you just turn your heat on high and get it going and start cooking your sausage. And you may want to leave this in a little bit bigger chunks, which I think is real good for sausage gravy, or you might want to crumble it more. It's just entirely up to you. But you want to get your sausage nice and cooked brown. And it won't take long. I hope everybody is having a great week so far. Enjoying the weather while you can before it turns really cold and snow and all that. And I love snow, and I am so hoping that we'll get some snow this year. Usually we get a little bit of snow, but it might just be for an hour, and then that's all the snow we get for the year. But I would love to get somewhere Kaylin can go out and play, and I love to watch it fall. The only thing I don't like about snow is I feel bad for the people that have to go out in it. So our sausage is cooking right along. I've left the heat on high just to help it cook quicker. But I do believe I'll cut it down a little bit now because we're getting ready to go to the next step. So I believe that that is cooked enough. And this really does not have hardly any grease in it whatsoever. And to make gravy, you really need some grease. What I'm going to do is put just a little bit of cooking oil in it. Because if I don't, it's really not going to turn out well. So I'm using, well, this is olive oil. Olive oil will be okay. I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons. I'm at the bottom of the jug. Okay. So now we're going to take our flour. And I'm going to use this cup that I used on the biscuits to get out some flour. And the amount of flour you put depends on how much sausage you used, how much grease you have, and that sort of thing. You saw where I sprinkled flour in here. And so I think I'm going to put just a little bit more. And we want to let that flour kind of burn a little bit or cook into the pan, because I asked my mom one time, why did she let her flour burn? She didn't actually burn it, she just let it get brown. And she said it takes the flour taste out of the flour. And so my mom was a great cook. My sister and I reminisce, and my kids reminisce about what a great cook my mom was. And I'm sure every mom was a great cook. Well, maybe not every mom, because I have heard some stories, but I think you know what I mean. So now that that's ready, we're going to take milk. You can use water. I am not a fan whatsoever of water gravy. So we pour some milk in here. And I want to say my vision is getting really bad. I'm not sure what's going on. I've been to the eye doctor. But everything seems so dark to me. Like I have all my lights in the kitchen on, plus I have these lights over here that I'm sure you've seen shining on the stove, and to me it's still awfully dark. So I don't know if it actually is really dark or if it's just me, but I am trying to make it light enough for you to see. So I think we may need a little more milk. I have the hardest time pulling the tab off the milk. You know, that thing, that is so hard for me to pull off. So I'm gonna add more milk. And know as when you finish up with your gravy and you're waiting on your biscuits to get done, as your gravy cools, it's gonna thicken a little bit. So keep that in mind when you're doing your consistency of your gravy. So I believe I have enough milk in here now, because I know it's going to thicken up a little bit. And I'm going to cut the heat down a little bit. I'm going to add a little salt and pepper, not a whole lot of salt. And somebody's been in my salt and taken about all of it. And nice little bit of pepper. Just stir that up. Looks like it's going to turn out really good. Starting to thicken up again. And I'm going to go ahead and cut the burner off. And what heat is left will thicken this up some more. Plus, it's sitting for a few minutes while we're waiting on the biscuits. Let me give them a little check. And I believe they need to go just a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is let the biscuits finish, and I'll come back and we will get us a plate and see what we think. Okay, the biscuits are done, the gravy's done, and it's time to see what we have and to give it a taste test. So there are the biscuits, piping hot, and here's the hot gravy. I'm gonna get up a biscuit, and it's a little dark on the bottom, but some of that comes from the butter. The biscuit is very light, and I'm gonna open it up and let you see the inside, how fluffy it looks. One thing I do like to do that I forgot to do right there is, once the biscuits are done, I like to put a little butter over them. It just gives it such a good taste to have that little bit of butter on top of them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on all these biscuits real quick. Okay, that's good. So now I'm going to open up the biscuit and take some of this gravy. And there we go. It really looks good. I can't wait to try it. This 2-ingredient biscuit is as good as any other biscuit you've ever had. Really light and flaky and fluffy. The gravy is wonderful. This is just really good biscuits and gravy. So I hope that you learned something, and I hope that you make this, and I hope that you love it. And I appreciate you watching. I'm always grateful and appreciative. You have a wonderful day. Do something good for yourself and for somebody else. You never know. And we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.